The largest leak in British political history has just come out, and hardly anyone is talking about it. All right, I'll do it again. For those of you who aren't British, you might not have kept up with what happened to the once almost Prime Minister and OG neckbeard Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party over the past few years. Here's a 30-second, way too reductive rundown. Jeremy Corbyn is like Britain's Bernie Sanders, except more left-wing, and he never gave 135 speeches endorsing war criminal Hillary Clinton. So that's always a plus, something I look for personally in friends. Corbyn became the leader of one of Britain's main two parties, the Labour Party. And under him, party membership doubled across Britain, which is quite an accomplishment because British people don't get excited for anything less than a nameless meat baked into a pie of some sort. The only time meat should be inside a pie, you know what? No. People loved Mr. Neckbeard. He looked poised to become prime minister. This means a socialist who talks about human rights abuses against Palestinians and other Western war crimes could have been running the UK. Could you imagine? That'd be like a Care Bear taking charge of an F-35 fighter jet. We're going to replace the guns with Tootsie Pops and the bullets with hugs. In all seriousness, I actually do support replacing all guns with Tootsie Pops. The British ruling elite, seen here last year, could not allow a socialist with a soul to run the British Empire, what's left of the British Empire. So they made up false accusations about anti-Semitism, repeated the accusations 900 times, and ultimately destroyed Corbyn's career. Leaks back in 2020 showed that anti-Corbyn Labour officials worked to lose the general election to oust their leader. A faction of Corbyn's own party was working to make sure their own party lost the general election so they could oust Corbyn as leader and basically ruin his career. Since that time, a goonish Tony Blairite named Kier Starmer, which sounds like one of the Sith Lords, has taken over the party and put it back where it belongs. A sad liberal group of corporate tools wearing pastels who endorse unfettered capitalism and wouldn't call Israel an apartheid state if their lives depended on it and they were dangling over a pit of like snakes and alligators. Snakes riding on alligators. Could they do that? Could the snakes go on the... So now, much like a stadium bathroom during a 12-inning baseball game, the leaks haven't stopped. Just a few weeks ago, Al Jazeera, which is short for Albert Jazeera, came out with a series called The Labour Files, which revealed what actually went on inside the party. And the information has largely been ignored by all mainstream media, even though it's the largest leak in British political history. The leaked data comprises 500 gigabytes of documents, emails, video, and audio files from the Labour Party dating from 1998 to 2021. So perhaps it says something about the mainstream media that they're ignoring the largest political leak in British history. Have I mentioned that before? And this includes when Sir Philip Barrymore of Windsor's manservant leaked that he had indeed shaved his master's legs prior to the 1532 jousting exhibition. The revelations are no small story, and yet they are intentionally getting buried and ignored by the British ruling class. As Al Jazeera's investigation makes clear, here's how serious this is.
If a small group of secretive people manipulate and control one of the two great parties in Great Britain, what will they do when they have control of MI5, when they have control of all the levers of the state? Are they suddenly going to believe in justice, in proper investigations, in fairness? Or are they going to be the same as they are now, or even worse?
Oh, I know! Even worse! Even worse! Although I will say that sounds a whole lot more menacing coming from Jason Statham's dad there. Here are some of the things this leak revealed. The weaponization of anti-Semitism by the right wing of the Labour Party to hinder Jeremy Corbyn's chances of becoming prime minister. And let's just be clear here. They don't mean the weaponization of real anti-Semitism. They mean using Corbyn's principled stance supporting Palestinian rights against him by calling him anti-Semitic endlessly. The media helped create this perception with just a deluge of articles like this one. Why British Jews are worried by Jeremy Corbyn. And no apology from Jeremy Corbyn over Labour anti-Semitism claims. This is kind of like yelling at a presidential candidate, "Will you apologize for having sex with that donkey?" Of course, the guy doesn't apologize because he didn't have sex with a donkey. Then the next day, the newspaper headline reads, "Presidential candidate refuses to apologize for sex with donkey." Not that there aren't presidential candidates who banged a donkey. Beto, you know what you did. So the press, which let's not forget is owned by the richest people in the world, kept hammering away at this story even when they knew there wasn't any truth there. There have been many studies showing people conflate familiarity with truth. The more you hear a lie, the more likely you are to believe it. Some studies even show that the illusion of truth effect worked just as strongly for known as for unknown items, suggesting that prior knowledge of whether something is true won't prevent repetition from swaying our judgments of plausibility. You can know for certain something is false, like WMD in Iraq or Russiagate or the Cuban microwave sound cannon mild headache attack story. Yet if you hear about it several times, you will start to believe it's true. Hilariously, that article on this very effect is from the BBC, the very network perhaps most responsible for Corbyn is anti-Semitic crap. They do an expose on the mind manipulation technique they're going to use on you, and then they use it on you. It's the fucking balls on these people. That's kind of like Muhammad Ali telling you which round he'll knock the guy out. But that's not all that this huge leak revealed. It revealed a hierarchy of racism within the Labour Party disciplinary process, which prioritizes the investigation of alleged anti-Semitism cases over other forms of racism, as well as shocking examples of Islamophobia and anti-black racism within the Labour Party. Basically, there was legitimate racism within the large faction of the Labour Party that was trying to destroy Corbyn. But this racism was never addressed, investigated, or reported on because they were way too busy making up anti-Semitic shit about Corbyn. Yeah, listen, Amir, I don't care if you were told you're not allowed to use any of the bathrooms in the building. Maybe you should have thought of that when you were being so Muslim. Now, give me a new racist slang term we can say Corbyn called rabbis. But stopping Islamophobia or racism inside the Labour Party didn't serve the purpose of the ruling class who were trying to stop Corbyn's rise. And this gigantic leak revealed more than just Labour's internal racism. It also showed how much the mainstream media does not want people to know about all of this. The leak has essentially not been covered at all by US or UK mainstream outlets. It's incredibly similar to the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, doing everything they could to stop Bernie Sanders. And then, long after they stopped him and the truth came out, such as when the New York Board of Elections admitted in court they had purged hundreds of thousands of Bernie voters, the mainstream media never talked about it. Couldn't be bothered, because their job is to protect the rulers, not reveal that the rulers are rigging the system. Way to go, Jake Tapper. You show those Cuban microwavers who's boss. That's it for now. The Most Censored News comes out twice a week. Please click subscribe and share it. Also, we are completely independently funded, so join us on Patreon if you'd like to see this show continue. Keep fighting.